I will call to order the April 11th Governing Board, Deer Valley Governing Board meeting. Let the record show all board members are present except for the board president, Ms. Paperman. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are going to move on to number 3, action item, approve recommended principal for Sunrise Elementary School.
I move that the governing board accept the proposal for Tanya Knight to be the principal of Sunrise Elementary.
Second?
Darabont?
Good evening, Vice President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Finch. It is certainly my pleasure this evening to bring forth Ms. Tanya Knight as our recommendation for the next principal at Sunrise Elementary. Ms. Knight has a wealth of experience, both as an assistant principal and a principal. She has a demonstrated track record of academic achievement success. She has worn many hats in her career, and we know that she will do a great job at Sunrise School. Thank you.
Any questions? Any comments? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. Welcome to Deer Valley. Would you like to say a few words? Not 20 minutes. They were just teasing you.
Thank you. I appreciate you trusting me with Sunrise Elementary, and I'm excited to be joining Deer Valley.
Welcome. Thank you.
You've got an adoring public right over there.
We're going to move on to preview items 4. A City of Phoenix proposal for state land adjacent to Sandra Day O'Connor. Who do we have presenting?
We'll do that.
Because I can't get here.
Okay. We'll let them get their seats. This is a preview item, so obviously feel free to scratch down some questions that you might want to ask after they do their presentation, and or email us in the next couple weeks if an idea comes up that you haven't thought of tonight. The folks that are in front of us today, Teresa Falls, the Deputy Director for Parks and Rec for the city. Jared Rogers works with the preserves, and that's why he's here. And then Brian Sparks is here. He knows a lot from the Arizona Land Department. He knows a lot about the leases and the process that we'd be going through. This comes from a meeting. I don't know how long we've been working on this. A while, maybe over a year. Working to put some land to use next to O'Connor. And they're going to do a little presentation on kind of the nuts and bolts behind it. We have obviously discussed it with the Sandra Day O'Connor administration. And obviously, as a superintendent, I asked, what's in it for me? And so they'll be talking about that, of the pluses of how we can work together for the betterment for the community and for Deer Valley. So I'll turn it over to Teresa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Finch. We're very excited to be here this evening to share this opportunity with you. As
the doctor mentioned, I am Teresa Fall. I'm a deputy director with the City of Phoenix Parks and Recreation Department. With me to my right is Jared Rogers, who is also one of our deputy directors. And then we have Brian Sparks with Arizona State Land. We really appreciate your time this evening to hear this item. I first wanted to provide just a little bit of background. Sandra Day O'Connor High School is located at 35th Avenue and Hackamore Drive in North Phoenix. And the land the high school sits on is leased from the Arizona State Land Department. Immediately adjacent west of the school, the City of Phoenix owns an approximately 10-acre lot at the northeast corner of Stetson Hills Loop and Hackamore. Our purpose in being here tonight is to share with you an opportunity the city's exploring that would be mutually beneficial to both the school and the city. We understand that parking is a challenge for the school and that there's an interest in having a trail system that students could easily access for cross-country training and events. And the city is interested in acquiring the state land to build a trail system and developing our existing 10-acre parcel into a trailhead access point, which would include a parking lot that the students could be using during the school day or in the evenings as needed if there's certain special events. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jared Rogers to share more details about this opportunity.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Teresa, and pardon my voice. It's allergy season, and it's got me pretty good. If it goes out, I apologize. I'll do my best. I just wanted to start by kind of giving context here. As you can see, the yellow shape right in the middle of this map is Sandra Day O'Connor High School. And then to the north and west of that, and kind of wrapping around what we now think of as the Sandra Day O'Connor High School boundaries, is the Deem Hills Recreation Area, which is an existing preserved system of trails. We have two trailheads currently. One is located at Deem Hills Park on the far west side of the park, and then we have a smaller access point on the east side. As we zoom into this area a little bit closer, you'll see in the lower left corner where it's labeled COP, that's an abbreviation for City of Phoenix. That's the current park site we have. It's undeveloped at this point. So as Teresa mentioned, there's potential to develop that as a park site, which could have a parking lot in the neighborhood of 128 spaces, which for kind of scale and context is about the same size as the overflow parking that the school district recently built immediately adjacent to this site. So just immediately east of the label COP park site. The yellow shape is part of a state land lease currently. If you look on the county assessor's site, you might be led to believe it's all owned by the school district, but it actually turns out it's part of a 99-year lease. So what we're proposing is the portions that are not directly impacted by the actual campus, the physical footprint of the buildings and the parking lots. So this green shape could be purchased by the City of Phoenix and included in our preserve system. We currently have over 40,000 acres of preserves. This would be added to that preserve system. It's all about preserving open native desert. I've been up on this site a few times myself. It's a beautiful site, as I'm sure you're all aware. And it's a great opportunity for the city to add it to the preserve system and to provide a shared use at the park site with shared parking. So one thing we wanted to do as we met with Superintendent Finch is some concerns about maybe having the preserve and any potential trails that would get built, maybe being too close to the school for any sort of security issues. And in discussions back and forth with that, we discussed having a 250-foot buffer that the city would purchase, but would agree to not develop trails so that there would be a meaningful separation between the trails and between the school campus. So this red line is a very conceptual layout of what a trail might do to connect the park site parking lot up to the existing trails. You can see we've got a couple of our trails that are existing labeled at the top of the map there. And so this system would connect. Another thing we've talked about with Superintendent Finch is the opportunity to have access points. And we could definitely work with the school and with the school district to find ways that the school could utilize not only this red trail that you see here, but all of the other trails that are connected with it for events and learning opportunities and whatever else that you can dream up that you'd like to use it for. I will mention in passing, wasn't really part of the presentation, but I did meet Principal Miller this morning. He thought I was an attorney or I was winning an award or something, so he came up to me, and when I told him where I was from, it was nice to get an endorsement that he saw the value of the shared parking. So that was nice to hear. But anyway, with that, I'll turn it back over to Teresa.
Thank you, Jared. So the next steps in this process would be then for the governing board to take action on this item at a future meeting. If the item would be approved, then the city would engage in a community outreach program to ensure that we obtain the feedback from the nearby residents regarding the trail alignment and any concerns they have to help mitigate any of those concerns. The engagement program would include online surveys, working with the neighborhood HOA, we could work with the school, we could hold an in-person open house type meeting if that was needed as well. And following the conclusion then of the community outreach, the State Land Department would work with the school district to have the existing lease modified to reflect the new footprint of the school campus, thereby leaving the remainder of the state land available for the city to pursue purchase of it. Upon completion of the lease modification, the city would submit an application to state to start the acquisition process. And we understand tonight is just a preview for the governing board to hear this item. And upon this item coming back to the board, our request is that the board would approve to allow state land to modify the existing lease to change the legal description to be reflective of the footprint of the Sandra Day O'Connor High School as depicted in the map that we showed tonight. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions. We really appreciate your time and consideration of this item.
Maybe I'll have Mr. Miglorino chime in as well. I'm talking maybe about the buildability of that footprint and why that buffer makes sense.
Vice President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Finch, just the map that you saw, really the topography of the state land lease that when we received the parcel for that high school, that's really not buildable space. We've basically built everything that we can at that location. And so most of what you see there, it's hard to see on a two-dimensional picture like this, but that's quite steep, all of that terrain. So really, one of the best purposes for that land would be to have it as a preserve for a connection to the trail system. And again, it's subject to the board's consideration of, if you want to consider this. We have a 99-year lease for the land that's there, and we would have to get the board's approval to change that to even consider the State Land Department offering it as an opportunity for the city of Phoenix to purchase.
Ms. Ordway.
Whomever wants to answer, this. So I am an avid hiker, and that's one of many in the area, great trails. So 2 questions. Parking spots, of course, is the number one. How would that affect Sandra Day O'Connor's parking spots? And the 250-foot buffer, we would somehow figure out with our safe schools or to configure a safe way to have that buffer be meaningful? Whoever wants to answer the spots in that part.
I think I'll take the safety aspect of it. We do have maybe some minor concerns just because the steepness of the terrain. We don't necessarily have a perimeter fence around the back, the north side of the fire lane that surrounds the campus. So we've had some conversations, and in the letter that's attached as in board docs, it even addresses that this could be done with potentially additional foliage or maybe a fence or some signage or something like that. The topography itself will lend somewhat of a constraint, but it would give a line of sight, a better, improved line of sight from the top of the mountain to the limited perimeter that we have around the north side of the campus. And so that's something that we are continuing to have conversations with the city of Phoenix in regards to.
And that cost would be borne by whom?
That's part of the conversations that's on.
Okay, and then can we talk about access to the 128 parking spots?
Okay, so the question is about, the access to normal, I'm sorry, it's the medication here. So just give me a sec. So there's about 128 parking spaces we would be expecting to develop, and we would anticipate that at least 100 of those could be available during every school day. We would want to have a small number that would be designated in some way for hikers to be able to use. It is, in fact, a trailhead, but the vast majority, we would not need that quantity on a typical school day to access the trails. Weekends, it would probably be packed with hikers, honestly, but during school days, we have much less hiker attendance during those days.
And that also goes to a safety concern, but we would work that out at some point in time to figure that out. Jim, at West Wing, that parking lot, that's all the way at the, do we share that? Or does it just go into the mountain?
Vice President Fisher, Ms. Ordway, we did have a shared agreement with the city of Peoria for that parking lot before the park was developed. Unfortunately, it took such a long time for the city of Peoria to develop that park. We established a precedent, and so there's been a lot more people that have continued to use our parking lot up until, I'd say, the last year or two. But due to the size of West Wing, we pretty much exclusively limit parking to just our staff any longer. That's not to say that on the weekends, people still utilize the parking lot, which really isn't a major concern for us. They've been, for the most part, very respectful of the parking lot and the access to it. I always find it interesting that people that want to enjoy the outdoors and hiking don't want to go, an extra 100 yards to the designated parking spot, but maybe it's such a challenging trail they didn't want that additional 100 yards of hiking. But that arrangement has worked fairly well. The problem at West Wing is we just have such a limitation of parking at that campus for the size of that school. We couldn't continue that any longer.
The reason I brought that up is that this is not a new thing for us to navigate. Thank you.
Mr. Carver.
I just want to say, I think that this can be a really big win for all sides as long as we can come to an agreement on what the safety protocols can be that we can put in place to help maintain a safe environment for our students. Understanding that the terrain is steep on the backside, on the north side there, I can appreciate that, but all of our campuses are easily measurable with Fort Knox. You can't get in unless you know somebody, pretty much, which is a beautiful thing. And to have the entire backside of the school open could present an issue. And then, like you said, the vantage point from the top down. It's sad that we have to take those kind of things into consideration in today's environment. But I would hope that we could come up with something to stake out that 250 feet to keep people from setting up camp or whatever it might be. That's over 80 yards, so that's a good distance. So I would just encourage everybody to see what it would look like to try to get that done. And any help that we could get establishing that barrier would be greatly appreciated. But I think that this is a really good idea. What does it look like for the protection of this environment moving forward? What if the city of Phoenix got tired of dealing with it and didn't want it anymore? What does it look like for you to be able to wash your hands of it, or is that an option moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's incredibly hard for us to walk away from it. It would be included in our City of Phoenix Preserve system, which is protected by the Chapter 26 of our city charter, which means it actually has to go to a public vote. And we've never even considered doing that. So it's very well protected. When the City of Phoenix says preserve, it's with a capital P, and it'll be preserved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's all I've got.
Stephanie, do you have any questions?
I'm new to the board, so I didn't realize that O'Connor was actually on a leased site, and my question was answered in regards to how long that lease is, 99 years. Would we start back at 99 years when that's proposed to go through, or is it a whole? Are we cutting back on the lease? What does that mean for the school in the future?
I can probably answer that. Thank you for having me here this evening, Board. I appreciate it. It really would just be a modification to the existing lease. And I had an opportunity to review this lease in detail and also review all of the original documentation for it. Originally, when this lease was done, where the school sits is where the value was given to this site. As everyone has mentioned, the rest of it's really unbuildable. And so I don't even think we'd have to change any dollar values or anything. It would just be a modification to the site. And in which case, if the city of Phoenix is the applicant, there's no expense for the school district. They're going to bear all the expenses for the acquisition.
Mr. Finch?
Two other things that we're discussing was mentioned in the presentation is a future potential for an extension of that trail that they make to really go around the perimeter of the green space, for a lack of the argument there. But the theory being that we could use it for cross-country events or training for students. That was one thing we're working on. Obviously, we would bear that cost if we were going to extend a trail, but it would be joint use. The public could use it as well. There is currently a trail on the right-hand side there, but it obviously isn't wide enough, et cetera, for any kind of racing or anything like that. The second thing we talked about was our junior ROTC program uses it for orienteering, I think is a proper term, the use of the compass to find direction. We talked a little bit about as long as they aren't geocaching or digging up or anything like that, that could be a possibility that the ROTC program would use it and continue to use it in the future, or for science classes to wander up there, et cetera. So that would be in some kind of agreement as well.
Thank you for coming and presenting. I don't see any other questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to preview item, annual K-12 use of facilities field fee schedule for 23-24. We'll give Mr. Migliorino a chance to say farewells.
Vice President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Finch, this evening we bring a preview item regarding the facility use rental fee schedule. There are two changes that we are proposing. One is a reduction of the cost for the field lights in our stadiums at our high schools. That is due to the improvements that we made. We converted all of those lights to LED lights. There's a significant savings, and we thought we would share that with that savings with those that utilize those fields. So that price went down from $82 for 2 hours to $54 for 2 hours, so fairly significant. The second requested change is to change the hourly rate of pay for a student technician from $15 to $20, with the increase in the minimum wage over time. This has been something that we've had to stay in front of. We figured $20 would give us at least a decent amount of time before we would maybe have to consider increasing it again. These are usually undesirable work schedules, and it's our own staff that, or our own student body that fill these positions and help out where they have expertise, because somehow affiliated with the equipment that is being asked to be rented. So our recommendation is to increase that from $15 an hour to $20 an hour. Again, that would be the charge that we would that would be imposed on those renting the facilities. I'd be happy to answer any questions or forward them on to Ms. Mock, who actually put all this together right before she left.
I don't see any questions. Let's go on to our district reports. Right back to you, Jim.
I think I'm going to miss her even more now, every Tuesday, right? This evening, we have two reports to share with you, starting with the student enrollment report. The report that we have here is for the 144th day, or through March 29th. We saw a slight uptick in enrollment, now showing a difference over the prior year of 1.1%. So of late, we've hovered right about at the 1% number, I think the last couple times that we've reported this to you. No other major significant changes there, other than Dr. Galligan does remind us when we get together weekly that our EL population has grown. I think that has to do, in large part, due to the folks that TSMC has been bringing over. So that number has changed. That's not necessarily represented on this report, just I thought it was worth noting that as the population is growing, as a result of TSMC bringing people, it has also changed the dynamic of the English language learners that we have. I'd be happy to answer questions about the enrollment report.
I don't see any.
Hearing none, we'll just cover the March M&O financial report. No major changes to the report from what we reported back in February, a month ago. So projected carry forward at $16.1 million, which is not significantly different. We do show a over-encumbrance of our substitutes at this point in time. That's because we're paying a premium for substitutes that we're funding out of our federal stimulus dollars. That journal entry has not been made to be able to recoup some of that cost or charge that to those federal stimulus dollars. That's over by just over $500,000. Other than that, that's the major changes from last month. And also wanted to just put on the radar screen, and maybe this is a reminder for myself as much as for you, that our May budget revision will be coming up next month. And so we'll not only have the M&O report to share with you for the end of April, we'll also have a revision to this year's budget, the final revision for this year's budget to actually align the budget. Remember, the number that we're showing here, the $267.5 million, is our working budget, and we need to get our state-approved budget in line with the working budget with the last revisions that are available to us. Just forewarning that's, or a reminder for myself that we have to do that before the May 9th meeting.
Mr. Carver.
Jim, I was introduced to a term the other day, and I'm just curious. So 16.1 carry forward, is that different than what's referred to as dead cash?
Vice President Fisher, Mr. Carver, yeah, so that would be the projected budget carry forward. Would not necessarily be the amount of cash on hand that we would have. So our M&O, our operating budget, is a budget-controlled account, and then we have to collect those dollars through property taxes and other means to be able to afford what the actual budget limit is that's set by statutory formula. So what we're reporting here is the budget capacity that we would have. Does not address the cash as we're still collecting property taxes at this point.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any additional questions. We'll move on to public comments. You can read the names and then the admonishment as they come up.
We've got 4 people tonight. If you would approach the microphones as I read your name in the order that I read them. Antonio Rodriguez, Cassandra Framos, Christina Zelensky, and Kitty Mae Smith. The board invites public comment on the district's business in general. Sorry, one second. We're good? Okay. The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it in to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute over, the president may shorten each. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Please state your name when you approach the mic.
Antonio Rodriguez. So during the 2021-2022 school year, my daughter was in the 5th grade in the Levine School District. Her teacher was Victoria Kaus. Victoria Kaus teaches in your district, school district now. In late October of 2022, I found out through court filings that my daughter had allegedly wrote notes while in Victoria's class alleging that I was abusive to my daughter and that my daughter wanted to run away from my home. These notes were dated as far back as December of 2021, and I was barely finding out. Over the past 1.5 years, I have been involved in a high conflict custody case. Through these court filings, I found out Victoria colluded with my ex to get her these notes so that my ex could then use these against me in court. In order to accomplish this, Victoria broke Rogers Ranch school policy, her previous school, and Arizona state law as a mandated reporter. Victoria went on to testify
Sir,
against...
I need you to stop. I need you to refrain from using names. I mean,
Okay,
you could say an individual, but
Sure,
I need you
I
to
won't
refrain from
use the name
saying
again.
names. Thank you.
Okay, this person went on to testify against me in court while she was supposed to be teaching students while she was in your school. She took her phone out in class to begin her testimony with kids in clear view of her camera. In her ruling, the judge referred to this person's testimony as the note and the notes she provided as the saddest part, giving this great weight. As a result, the majority of my parenting time was taken away, and I lost my final decision-making rights. I went from having 50-50 to only seeing my child every other weekend. Had this person reported these notes to DCS, there would have been a months-long investigation of evidence and interviews with everyone involved. What this person didn't know is that I had been accused fictitiously of abuse in the past, and those claims were found unsubstantiated by DCS. She also did not know that I had proof my ex would coach my daughter to not say nice things about me. Instead, a judge had minutes to make a rushed call. And also note that this person may be sitting on other reports from other children because per her own text message to my ex, and I quote, "In my squirrel habit, I took this away in a journal and just found it. Can this be submitted as evidence?" She goes on to say, "I usually kept teacher mail to myself since kids usually disclose this kind of stuff." I want to see this district make it a priority to remind staff of their legal responsibilities and to remind them that policy and law are drafted for a reason. And when this is not adhered to, that staff member could fall for lies and manipulation, lending themselves to the destruction of an innocent family. I want this board to reassure the parents who send their kids to your schools that those kids are being protected and that the concerns they report are being handled in accordance to policy and law. This person also has been texting my daughter since she was 11 years old. I want this board to follow up with me and reassure me that this teacher is no longer communicating with my daughter because she does not have my permission to do so. I also emailed the school principal and the district superintendent about this on January 11, 2023, and I never heard back.
Thank you. Go ahead and state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Cassandra Framos. The week of February 6th, as an employee, I was informed that another employee was on leave and would not be back to school. This was so out of the blue, and it got me curious as to why he wouldn't be returning, but on leave. So I researched a little, and I found this person's mugshot. This got me concerned since I have a child that was in very close contact with this person on his sped bus. He was my son's bus assistant. On February 9th, I took those concerns to the principal, and she in turn took my concerns to HR. HR responded back to her and said there is no evidence or need for that concern. I know that the district already knew that this person was arrested for the lure of a minor. So for them to tell me that there is no need for concern is crazy. HR didn't even reach out to me and talk to me about my concerns. They just swept it under the rug. That was a big fail on their end. With no help or concern from HR, I continued my own research and waited to see when the district would send an email out to the parents and guardians. An email finally gets sent out on February 23rd, right before a news article of this person's arrest came out on Arizona's family. This email had a person to respond to, so I responded to the Director of Operations Safe School Division on the 2nd of March. I wrote him again on the 8th since he didn't respond to me. This one I did include the superintendent, just hoping that that would help me get a response. He responded that same day on the 7th, and he said he did not get my previous email since, sorry, he responded on the 8th. He said he did not get my email until the 7th. And to this day, he has not responded to my email. Now I'm here. So they said they're wanting to have open communication. The email we got was very vague, and it just gives us the titles. What he was arrested for an alleged crime involving a minor, that he was a former employee, and that they did required reporting. A few things. He is no longer with the district because he was allowed to resign, not fired. That's a little concerning. My biggest concern, though, is the title that they had for bus technician. There's no title of bus technician on the Deer Valley Unified School District job site. I did find the bus assistant title, and that's exactly what this guy did as a job. I don't know why they changed the title, but I'm guessing it's to make it maybe look a little bit better than a technician. Why didn't you have the actual job title in the email that went out to parents? I was lucky that I was an employee and I knew what to be concerned about. The district is more concerned about their reputation than the safety of my child and other children in the district. Thank you.
Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Christina Zielinski. Board members, I am very happy to see that Ms. Simichek finally gets to have her item on discussion for tonight regarding ethics and etiquette. Having watched many board meetings and attending a few, I feel this is a very important topic to discuss. As a parent in the district, I have seen vile words online about parents, staff, from a certain board member. I have seen slanderous claims with no proof about Dr. Finch, and I have seen this board member over and over use the us them mentality to divide people in this district. I would like to see board members hold each other accountable for poor behavior. I would like, as a parent, not to be told by a board member that I was having a tantrum and only wanting my way when my opinion differed from theirs. I would also like to not see a board member take or make a comment about it on their social media to shame a parent. I would like to see the board for us, excuse me. Oh, I lost my thought. Sorry. Anyways, I would like there to be a policy put into place or something that keeps everything a little bit more copacetic online. I'm really tired of seeing the division, really tired of seeing rhetoric and things without proof being set out there. And please get back to focusing on our kids and their education, not your personal beefs. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm tall. I have to use this one. Hi, I'm Katie Mae Smith. I am a parent in the district. My kiddos came today. It still doesn't make it easier to speak in public. This is not my favorite thing to do. But I'm going to start by saying what I always say when I come up here, and that we are so fortunate. Our kids go to an amazing school in the district. We have had a wonderful teacher every year. They're both in 4th grade now. Everybody from the principal to the front office staff to every teacher, parapros, even the janitors. I'm lucky. I get to do a lot of PTSO work. I get to know everybody. I had a really cool moment the other day. I was cleaning out our concessions room, and a janitor walked by, and I was getting rid of some some supplies. We had just had a bingo event, and she asked if she could have it for her 6-year-old's birthday that was going to be that weekend. And I was able to give that to her, and it's just so great. We have this wonderful community, and I'm really thankful for that. This school year, one of my kiddos had a moment where there was a child not being very nice to him in his class, and he had a really hard time telling on that child. He didn't want to do it. He doesn't want to make waves. He's that kind of kid. And he has this amazing teacher who came up with a plan that we would remind him that telling on that child who had really poor behavior was not just doing the child a favor, because that child was able to get help to prevent that from happening again, and get the intervention that he needed, but also it could prevent it from happening from someone or to someone else. So there's a school board member who has called me ridiculous. She has called me awful. She has called me terrible. She has said that I am in a hate group. Mind you, I am a mom. I volunteer. I actually volunteer weekly in my kids' school, and I am such a member of the community. And I'm so thankful that I'm always reminded of that and treated as such. But that behavior that I watch, that I get treated that way, is not just happening to me. It's happening to teachers. It's happening to other parents. It's happening to students. It's happening to our district administration. And it is not okay. I get tired of coming to these board meetings when I love our school and I have nothing to complain about that. But then this representation that's out there is not what is not our community. So I'm here tonight to ask that we hold our board members to treating each other appropriately, treating our community appropriate, treating our administration appropriately. And thank you so much.
Dr. Z, I believe this is probably going to be directed towards you, but if we could, I would like for you to, trying to figure out the best way to put this. So concerning Mr. Rodriguez's points, I'd like for us to revisit our reporting policy and our communication concerns. And I'm sure that all of our educators are fully aware of what the expectations are, but if we could send what those expectations are to the board so that we can better understand that, and maybe a refresher would be in place after a little bit of research is done on his particular concerns. And Ms. Framos, her concerns tonight, I don't want us to be part of what seems to be a continuing revolving door when it comes to people that lose their jobs in school districts. I understand that we can't just fire people just right out of hand, but when we allow them to resign, when they might not be a person that's qualified to be in that environment, I'd like us to take a look at what our policy is about that and what the differentiation is when somebody gets in a situation like that gentleman did, what allows us to let them resign versus quitting. A school district that may not do their due diligence would not be aware that the person's been removed in that fashion, but they weren't fired. So they might call and get a good reference from us, and we won't want to be part of the problem. So if you could send us something on that and see what that looks like, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, we can give you a summary, obviously, of a situation. The facts are a little bit different, so we can fill you in with what we know.
Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that the governing board accept consent agenda items 7A through 7J.
Second. Isn't that
Holly?
Kay? Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're doing something else. Go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You put that off there. I thought it was agenda.
Passes on a 3-1. Going to action item 8A, approve employee professional development out of state. Can I get a motion?
I move that the governing board accept item 8A, approving educational development, professional development rather, for out of state.
Second.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
They can say it or they can vote.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Can I get a motion for action item B, approve agenda? Be approved.
I move that the governing board accept item 8B, approve the addenda of pre-approvals.
Second.
Any questions? I invite the board to vocally vote. And in line as well.
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Nope. Item passes 4.40. Can I get a motion for action item C?
I move that the governing board accept item 8C, approve the revised fiscal year 24 employee benefit recommendation.
Second.
Mr. McLaren, is there any presentation, any changes?
Just in the interest of being brief, Vice President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Finch, I regret that we're having to revise the benefit recommendation for next year, but it is to the benefit of our employees. So Valley Schools was able to negotiate a better rate on a voluntary benefit on our short-term disability plan. So this is plans that employees choose and then pay for. Originally, the board approved a 5% increase. Valley Schools was able to go back to the provider and negotiate a 0%, so no cost increase, and lock that price in for 2 years. So we thought it was worthwhile to bring back to the board and ask for your consideration of this revision so that it would help save our employees that extra expense. And thanks to Valley Schools for their ability to negotiate that discounted rate. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions that the board might have.
I just have a comment. I like it when you bring stuff like that back to us.
Any questions?
I just want to thank you, Jim, for working on that and partnering with Valley Schools to make this an even better place for our educators. Thank you.
No other questions? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. We're moving on to discussion item 9A, board ethics. I believe, Ms. Simicek, this is the item you wished for.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Finch, and DVUSD community. As a new board member and prior current DVUSD community member, I have noticed a pattern of behavior that I believe is unhealthy for our school board and therefore unhealthy for our schools, staff, and all of our DVUSD community. I would like to define 3 words: ethics, morals, and etiquette. Ethics are moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. Etiquette is the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. Morals are a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and what is not acceptable for them to do. Essentially, I've gone through many pieces of information, including emails and screenshots from social media. I've provided our other board members with this information. I've also gone through and redacted all names to and from, as well as any symbols or pictures that were present that might lead to someone's coming from a particular person. I did this because I don't want to be pointing the finger. I just want to have a discussion about it. I would also like to add that overall, the last several weeks, I felt frustrated even angry that these items, ethics and etiquette, have not made their way to a board discussion, even though 2 board members had requested it previously. I have realized, however, that this is perfectly okay. Tonight they are being discussed because that is what is supposed to be. This time has allowed me to think about what I really want to say and deliver it in a way that didn't feel like I was pointing the finger, but rather providing facts, the facts and the viewpoints from our community and not just me personally. I want to thank our community members for coming forward and sharing what they have observed, even if it means becoming a target yourself or risking volunteer opportunities you could have with working with our community. No parent should be denied opportunities for speaking out or shunned for providing facts. I want to say that I have approached this subject with the understanding that we are all human. We are people with feelings, hence why I redacted the names of the provided documents. That being said, the goal is to discuss proper ethics and etiquette of board behavior. We have each been voted into this position. The community has selected us because they care about their community and they want to know and to feel that at the end of the day, we are able to have civil disagreements without personal attacks. I will say that again, civil disagreements without personal attacks. I want to point out that as humans, we are told truths and we are told lies all the time. Then we often pick and choose what we really want to hear and believe in a way that will best serve ourselves. We are here to serve our community, and we cannot do that when we pick and choose what we want to hear for our own personal agendas. If a parent emails me with questions or concerns, it is not okay to take their words and twist their truths and opinions to better save myself or serve myself. That is not why I was elected. I was elected to listen. I was elected to hear all sides and opinions. I have never received an email from a community member saying, "Thank you, Mrs. Simichek, for publicly humiliating other members of the board," or "Thank you for creating untruths about our superintendent, but the best part was when you brought his wife into it." No, I do not receive these types of emails or witness these actions on social media by board members. What I do receive is, "Dear Mrs. Simichek, I just want to express my concerns for what I witnessed at the board meeting the other night." Or, "It seems like there is a board member who chooses to talk more about her own issues rather than issues for our DVUSD community. And I notice there are certain board members that think it's okay to publicly humiliate other members of our DVUSD community and their families." I have also noticed Facebook posts that seem to be promoting homeschooling and ESA vouchers rather than public education. Why would a public school board member be saying this? So when I talk about having a discussion on ethics and etiquette, this is what I am referring to. The customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or a group. In this case, it is our DVUSD school board. I would like to request that school board members abstain from putting down others, making assumptions, and then posting them on social media. I would like to have civil disagreements without personally attacking other members of our community, including other board members, our superintendent and his staff, our staff families, parents, guardians, or grandparents that express concern via email. Thank you.
Ms. Ordway?
Oh, I'm going to wait for a while. I'd like to hear other people's thoughts.
Mr. Carver?
So, yeah, ethics. So that's something that plays a part in everybody's lives, whether you're a board member or just out in the community. I think that we can definitely do better. When you get elected to an office, you're being held to a higher standard than your average bear, and I think we need to conduct ourselves accordingly. It's hard sometimes because the you can't get the same treatment that people want, right? So people say things and do things and are less than genuine towards you, and we're human beings. And I'm not condoning behavior. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying, but um, I wish we could all, people that have issues, just come together in a room and agree that there's been mistakes on both sides, and can we just start moving forward? I can't speak for the groups. I can only speak for myself, and I've tried to do that. Lord knows I was and have been the focus of negative attention from time to time, just because I've got a different way of looking at things than other folks. But I would encourage everybody, whether it's the community or whether it's members on this board, to, when we're going to have a communication, whether it's verbal or whether it's written, to think about the words that you're saying before you put them down or let them come out of your mouth. How would I respond if somebody talked to me like that? That's what I try to do, and I'm just going to let everybody know if I ever interact with you and for some reason something, I'm going to tell you like I tell my wife. I'm a guy, so there's a good chance I said something stupid. Ask me about it, and let's make sure we come to an understanding on it, because I never intentionally try to set out to do that. So I guess the only 2 cents that I just want to say is you have every right to expect more out of your leaders, and I would just hope that we could try to foster enough mutual respect and mutual respect for the common goal that we all have as community members and board members for why we're all here. And as my friend Stephanie's shirt says, because kids, right? So I want us to all start focusing on that and stop getting so hung up on trying to have the last word or be right. There's a saying I share with my kids when they were growing up in the house. Sometimes when I'm talking to them, there's only 2 letters I want to hear out of their mouth. Okay. And I think sometimes as adults, we need to practice that. But yeah, I could go on and on about that, but that's enough.
I'll keep it brief. I've been doing this for 15 years and listening to all sorts of interesting dialogue, and then I read a lot of dialogue, but I don't react to, excuse me, most of it. I think possibly what we might look for, and I think we used to have these, but maybe we look at some board norms, knowing full well that anything that we agree upon, we have no power to ensure that it happens. But I think if we were to look at board norms, leading by example and servant leadership might be something that we could find commonalities in. I will say that there are times when people, in my opinion, have an issue with supporting the district, and they confuse that with always having to be the quote-unquote cheerleader. You support your district knowing that it's run by humans, that it's continuous improvement, that we hire people that have expertises in many areas, and we kind of look at all that information, weigh what we hear on the outside, listen to what we hear at board meetings, and process that through. I think that when we give reports and we refer to emails, text messages, phone calls, and we talk about children or staff members being hurt or having the possibility of being hurt, but we waited for 2 weeks, and I'm not doing this to be cruel. I'm just saying that we wait for 2 weeks for this because nobody will listen. it almost seems disingenuous because I know that the 5 people on this board don't want kids to be heard any day of the week. So they're not going to wait 2 weeks. I think sometimes it makes it louder and whatever. But I think that board norms are a good way to deliver and almost ensure etiquette. You have your own ethics, people have their own morals, and that's a personal thing. I would guess that you guys expect us to have all of that, and I've tried to deliver that for every day of my life. So I think that personal for everyone, because I've heard someone say, well, ethics, well, it's what, however someone perceives it. So, and that's great. But if we could get to board norms, that gives everyone an opportunity to blend what their beliefs are. We can come to an agreement on behaviors that we are not going to, quote unquote, tolerate. And perhaps we can get back or start a new trend in school boards and concentrate solely on students, staff, and community. And that's 15 years of listening to a lot of stuff rolled into, I think, 4 minutes and 37 seconds.
You know, I know that there was issues with, it wasn't on when I said it was going to be on. It was on within the 60 days required by policy. And Ms. Paperman is not here to defend herself, so I will. She put it on in the appropriate time in what she felt was best. It is her intent, from what I could tell, was never to upset anyone. If anything, she might have thought I was afraid of this topic, which I am not, for several reasons. When you have a group that comes together to make a statement as if it's factual, when there are no facts in it, when they want to state that somebody else's statement is not factual when they haven't even tried or looked at the evidence. That's concerning. I don't know that we'll ever agree on board ethics or norms for several reasons. If I was elected, and I believe, and it is my belief, that my constituents expect to know what's happening. It is not for me to gossip on the back end, have gossip in the community, whether it's on the topic of our curriculum, the topic of programs, or the topic of anything of that nature, or the topic about board members, or the topic about past board members, or community members making up stuff and pretending it's real. The beauty of the screenshots that you provided is that everyone can screenshot. And no board member should have to deal with the harassment of community members or false statements or slander from community members. And it's not all community members, it's actually a very small group. But they are affiliated with board members, and that was by plan. They are a member of a group that board members wanted an exclusive group. And that is what started the division with our parents. For every parent that you can find in that one group that is attacking multiple board members, because yeah, I get the limelight of it, but they've also hit Ms. Paperman and Mr. Carver. There are other parents who have been excluded from that group, have been removed from that group, have been told their opinion is not valued or wanted in that group. And so we have a greater division than us. So when a board member wants to bring that one group here and say, this group determines the ethics of our board, I'm sorry, but they don't. Because we must be honest and forthcoming with our community. No statement has ever been made about Mr. Finch or his wife that cannot be factually, facts can be provided. They're in writing. And so, no, there is no false statements. But there are on the other end, and I actually feel sorry for the way this has happened, because what people don't know is that he never stood a chance. He was pulled aside from the moment he was hired and was told one line that was desired. I will give Miss Ordway credit. I will give her credit that in that time, she was at least courteous enough not to contact me when I was in ICU at my husband's bedside. Unfortunately, Miss O'Brien did. So this started on a back-end secret thing. And I get it. You don't want the open dialogue. We don't have a choice at this point. We have to be open with our community because we have had multiple individuals who have been allowed to resign without consideration of the fact of where they could go beyond. We have issues. Friday updates.
Can I just ask a question? When you talk about these multiple employees that resigned, what was the reason for that? Do you remember what the reason was? And is this something that we can talk about? Is this close enough to the agenda, Dr. Finch, or not? I feel very far away. I feel you're very far away from the topic of board etiquette, but perhaps maybe we shouldn't talk about things that are not that close.
But here's the problem, Ms. Ordway. This is actually about ethics. And here's the question. Okay, so you believe it's unethical for the community to know what's happening back here, unless it's done in a behind-the-scene whisper.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by
correct?
that. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't understand that statement.
So that's my point.
No, just repeat the statement. I just want to rehear it again.
Do you believe that it is the board's responsibility to keep quiet about things, to keep that peace, but go ahead and gossip and spread it in a different way?
I'm not gossiping and spreading anything.
I'm not accusing you of that. I'm saying, do you believe that is an appropriate?
No, I don't believe that when you post social media things like Friday Lie Day, I don't think that's appropriate. Absolutely. I don't think that gossiping on the back end is
Pictures
good.
of other board members with other, or superintendent with other board members and making accusations, and bringing family members into it. It's just not valid.
Do you believe that it's appropriate to
Those
go to
are
a
not
community?
facts. Those are just.
Do you believe that it's appropriate to go to a community and tell them their program is that board members are trying to pull their community, their program? Is
No,
that
I
ethical?
don't.
Really?
Really? Yeah, and
So Mrs. Simichek, I'm going to excuse myself, or excuse me for a second. I didn't mean to talk over you. This is not you were elected 4 years ago, and then, or however many years ago, and then you were reelected. You have chosen to make statements about people that many are not presented in a factual way. There might be facts to them, but out of context, kind of like Mrs. Ordway's a Farmer John outstanding in her field. I am outstanding in my field, but that wasn't your intent. So I've chosen for all these years to let this go aside, because this is not about us. It is not about this stuff. It is about kids and how we spend our time and our resources. Pardon me?
I both know that's not true.
No, might know that's, okay. I am here to be a servant leader. I have proven that for years. I am here for kids. I am here for staff. I am here for community. I get nothing else out of this except for, serving the community. So you can disagree with that all you want, but when we're at this dais, a board norm is to treat people with respect and let the business of the district go on. That's what board meetings are for.
So
I just
don't
wanted
bring
to
it-
point one out before. I heard a lot about a particular parent group and how this parent group was kicking their parents off the page for their opinions and whatnot. I'm very familiar that there are actually multiple parent groups, some of which other board members take part in, that are doing exactly what you said, and it's not the group that you're referencing. So I have seen concerns from parents who are on a parent take action page, and then they were completely removed for sharing some sort of opinion or questioning some sort of statement that they felt were false. They were just immediately kicked off the page.
That page is an entire page of parents kicked off from the other page. The sad part is that board members took a hand in establishing that page and took a hand in
Which board members?
Miss O'Brien, for one.
Mrs. O'Brien does not sit here at this moment in time.
When she was, she still established the page, Miss Ordway.
I don't know that. I've
see-
never been a member of those pages. I guess the point is social media obviously is not working for anyone. So maybe we should all stay off it.
That's a great idea.
Well, and then we bring it here and we have the truth then, and we share the truth, because our community has a right to know the truth.
That's why I brought this up. That's why I had asked for this to be on the agenda. And to go back, you don't need to defend Ms. Paperman or yourself, because I truly feel after all these weeks that have gone by that this is the night this was supposed to be discussed. Everything happens for a reason, and I feel confident about that. But I also feel like I'm bringing it to the board meeting because these are the time and the place to bring this information, not to be posting it on social media where no one can, provide their opinions, such as you can, or Paul or Ms. Ordway. We are here to discuss it. My whole approach was to have it be a discussion that didn't need to involve names. But we have, as a community, experienced so much of this drama on social media, as well as received so many emails from concerned community members, that I really wanted to bring it forward so it could be discussed. I have never taken this to social media. I will not take it. It's not the place. I was elected by this community. I am professional, and that's why I brought it here today, rather than posting it all on social media and going on and on about it where people cannot defend themselves, including yourself or Mr. Carver or Ms. Orway. And I felt like this was the appropriate place to do that. So that's why I brought it here and not to social media.
And I agree, we can talk about it here. But the problem is when you're making false statements. Are you aware that at no time have I ever gone to Mrs. Finch's any social media of hers? And she mentioned Ms. Finch specifically. Are you aware I have never, ever gone to
I
any
did
of
not
her social-
I did not mention her. I mentioned spouses and families because I thought it was very disrespectful. Something that might work for you if you feel that. I'm not sure that it comes into play here because she's the member of the community. She's not sitting on the board as an elected official. But when you continue to respond and feed that, sometimes the best thing to do is just walk away. Like, don't feed it. Just walk away, be the bigger person and deal with it that way.
It's
To
not a
have to
bigger
go back
person.
and forth and argue, and then as that person to be seeing pictures of your spouse on social media with accusations of inappropriate things, no one can defend themselves, and it's just not true. And the information I provided in this packet are all are emails from parents and grandparents and community members who have expressed their concern to me. If, like I said earlier, if people were emailing me and thanking me for throwing my superintendent under the bus and being disrespectful for community members, I would have shared that. It's not coming to me. What is coming to me and what's being reported to me are concerns about the behavior of our board. And my goal is, what can we do to make it better? What can we do to work as a group instead of constantly pointing the finger or not talking at all about it and then going to Facebook after a meeting or something and then just venting it all for the world to hear in a really awful way.
Well, for
It's
starters,
just
we'd have
not
to be
kind.
honest. For starters, we'd have to be honest.
We would. We would have to be
So,
honest.
Mr. Carver, let's let him have the word and then we'll finish.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate that. So I think I've probably shared this with everybody at some point in time or another, but I know the necessity of this particular topic or two during this meeting because there's been an expectation from the community. However, I strongly suggest, and my viewpoint moving forward is that if issues arise that need to be discussed, whether it's about this person or that person or what have you, or I feel slighted or they feel slighted, or I've heard this or I know that, there are certain few times that a board can call an executive session, and one of the main reasons is for personnel issues. And we may not be employees, but a lot of the interaction that's taking place and a lot of the negativity that's happening out there in the world involves employees. And it involves the interpersonal relationships of board members. And so I would strongly suggest to the board, since we're having this conversation out in the open, that after tonight, if issues need to be discussed about things that you feel, things that you know, things that you think you know, then we should have an executive session. We have one almost every time because we're hiring somebody. Plug one in someplace and let's talk about it and do all the yelling and screaming you need to do behind those 2 or 3 closed doors, because I can guarantee you the community would probably like to see us after tonight move forward more hand in hand than spending any kind of considerable amount of time calling each other out for real or otherwise imagined issues. So it's not an attempt to hide things. It's not an attempt to be secretive, but I believe that the community will go the way that we do. And if I don't know how many people are paying attention, but
Thousands.
Well, I'm just saying, I just a side note, Stephanie and I are making a very strong effort to work together, and we're not on the same side of the ideological aisle, but we've identified through casual conversation that we're both here for the kids.
Mr. Carver,
Yes, ma'am.
if Ms. Ordway won't point it out for you, I will.
Oh, I was
We are
going
very,
to.
we are very limited in what we can have executive.
Yeah, I
sessions
don't think
about.
there is a statute that
Yeah, 'cause it
provides
fit
for
that
that.
criteria. I mean, that's why.
However, we could
that.
have a session to discuss board norms.
Okay. I'm coming from a point of legal consultation on knowing what the executive session's for and experience, but we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, I guess, Dr. Finch, you could have Denise figure out a way that we could talk about our personality problems in private.
Yeah, that's the only one, you only really have one employee, that's me. And so that you can have an executive session on that if you required one, that would be correct.
I just want to say, last thing I want to say is I had no intention of coming to this yelling and screaming and blaming people. So I really want that to be clear. I tried to come with an approach that made people feel like they had an opportunity to speak and share. I'm just asking once again, for the sake of our students, for us to work together. Like Paul said, we don't have to agree on everything, but I said this earlier as well, we don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree, but we don't need to be taking personal attacks against other people to when it does no good for our students and our community here in DVUSD.
Ms. Simichek, I will ask you one question. In preparing for this, did you at any point reach out to me to get facts on anything?
Well, I'm actually able to go to things that you have directly posted. So if they're coming from your mouth and you're writing them out for the world to see, then I would assume that that's what you want people to hear.
So if any part of that was not clear to you, did you reach out to me at any point to ask what the premise of that was or what the background of it was?
It doesn't matter to me. I personally, honestly, one of the main reasons I raised the board was a year ago or 2 years ago, probably at this point, when I emailed the board and I received an email back from you that completely had nothing to do with what I was saying, accusations that about me. I witnessed it firsthand from you, so I apologize that I'm not 100% comfortable, asking directly questions to you when it seems that when I have done that in the past, they get completely twisted and turned around. So instead, this time I just used your words and I posted them. I provided them in this packet, and they are for everyone to see. Again, I did redact names, but I think that a lot of people will be able to read through and understand who's who and whatnot. My intention of that was to just get that out of the way. But I have had personal experiences with you via email prior as a parent of this district.
And I'm more than happy
And
to share with anybody.
you have showed my emails. You have showed my emails on social media. I've seen you post them on the page. This isn't new for me, but I don't think that, I have them in my personal email box before I was a board member, and I have ones, actually, they're all were before I was a board member. So they were me as a parent. I was accused of, I think, something about like CRT and SEL, and you had really pushed back at me about all these things, which really wasn't anything I was trying to talk about. But again, they also, I think you had me confused with somebody else. I never get on social media and post about that kind of stuff. Again, I'm here for the students. That's why I did this. When I was presented with my response from you a couple years back, I just said enough is enough, because as a parent, when I come with concerns and to be blown off, and I see it now as a member, it's just not appropriate behavior for a school board member. Our job is to listen to all of the sides. It's not to take it away and twist it and call it a conspiracy theory. So those are my facts. I can speak for my facts, and I can speak for what I received, and those are facts. They were written down by you. And again, what one presents on social media is always going to be there. I don't go on social media and personally attack people. It's just makes no sense to me. I get nowhere with it, and it serves nobody. And especially, it does not serve our students and our community at DVUSD.
So what part serves the students or the community or the district or the board, which, by the way, the board is here for business. We're not here to be PTA parents. We are here for business.
I am not here to be a PTA parent, and I actually take that to be very offensive.
I'm just saying that's what we are here for.
We're here for business, but all business is surrounded by our schools making the decisions on where money needs to go in what directions.
I was asking a question.
And I answered it.
What? I never finished asking it. How could you answer it? What purpose does it serve for a small group to be creating pages where they're putting stuff with their spin on it? For board members to post through others, for individuals to seek one thing, and when they get a very professional response, they respond with nastiness. This is far beyond. You can put up the sweetness or the innocence of what you're doing or why, but what you're not aware of is all these things that are said on that group by the individuals, by your running mate, by individual. It's really the same handful, dozen of people.
Because they're the only ones who aren't afraid to speak up for our community. Otherwise, they get...
Well, what about the ones that take the screenshots and send them to me? So I have them all sent to me.
Yeah,
and I don't generally respond to them because I have come to realize that there is a divide in this district in whether or not we will somewhat remain parent-centered in raising their children or whether we will remain or become more of a, what is the statement? I believe I heard someone say it. A parent's decision ends once they decide to send their kids to that district or to that school.
As a parent, I'm just gonna say, if you're referring to DVUSD, I've never felt that at all. So I am really confused.
No, it's a
Could
statement
I
heard
make a
say.
suggestion? This is a circular conversation that is going to remain a circular conversation. So, Mr. Carver, I mean, Dr. Zerback, look, he's paying attention. No, I'm kidding. Perhaps we could put on the agenda to discuss board norms and what board norms would look like. Does that sound like a suggestion? And also, simultaneously, Dr. Finch will find out if, from Denise, if there is a statute that we can talk about personalities in private.
Well, good idea. My concern is like we already have here, BCA. We can talk about norms and we can talk about what our expectations are, but we can't, like you said, we can't make people.
But I think that in the formation of board norms, you get to peek a little bit inside someone's head, and at the very least, we agree, we don't agree, we vote on them, we don't agree with them.
Okay.
The public knows that we are I don't know who we will consist of, knows that we're working on something because, again, I'm going to mention the 15 years of being on a board. I
would
just want
support
to
that.
have kids go, have the students be the spotlight again.
I would support that. I just think that we need to not make it part of our normal business meeting.
No, I said a special session.
Sorry, again, it's that guy thing.
Well, it's a girl thing. We expect you to listen. Actually, it's a board member thing. I expect you to hear what I say when I'm in the
Thank you.
microphone.
But yes, I agree with you, as long as we could take it to study session or whatnot, executive session, but.
Something else, something that I could help to is I could collect from other districts, so you don't have to start from scratch. And then you guys can decide to etch them out, or I don't know if other districts have that concept.
We have a
or not.
document right there on the wall.
We do have one on the wall.
Here, and it has not been followed for the last 5 years.
Well,
we
you know,
we could-
perception is maybe you didn't follow it. Your perception is I didn't follow it. The point is that if we, as a collective 5 people, create norms again, maybe
So do you
it's
not
a new
want to
normal.
start with this one?
I don't know. That wouldn't be up to me. That would be up to the group as we decide to put it on a thing. We can all send our ideas on how to do that.
I think any document that's in existence should be reviewed and bits and pieces kept and dismissed.
Yes, because it was done by brilliant people.
That's right. At one point in time, somebody on that was smart.
We worked on it. Mike, Ron, myself, sort of. All right. Are we done?
For the moment. It's board report time, isn't it?
This is Miss Simichek's. Well, are we done?
No, I'm good. I don't want it to be appear like I'm coming off as like
I think
but
we
I
rolled it
am.
in.
Like if you have to say it, just say it in your microphone.
You are. I am
What am
saying
I
it in my
coming
microphone.
off as,
You
Kim?
are.
What am I coming off as?
This has every single meeting, no matter what the topics are, even our board retreat, has come forth with aggression and immediate. So please don't say you're not wanting that. Have it out if you want. If it's what
I
you
don't.
want.
Actually, I really, truly don't. The reason I don't, because I don't post it on social media. I don't because this is the way I'm approaching it. I don't feel like I'm approaching this with aggression. I feel like I tried to present this as a discussion. I'm not
but-
raising my voice. I'm not.
How is posting it on social media not okay, but getting a group together to
I
do
don't
things?
have a group. Are
Having
you
individuals at our study session or at our board retreat? It's
The only time I speak up, to be honest, is when I'm trying to say something and I get talked over, and that happens several times at the retreat. Then it gets posted on social media that I need anger management classes. And for so many people who really know me, it's just comical. But it's just a way to put me down as a way to put other people down. It's constant. So I really am not coming at this with, guns blazing. I really want this to work. I want our board to work together. I don't think that that's too much to ask. I think our community wants our board together. That's it.
Right, but that's my point, is if that's truly what you want is to work together, then why would you bring the false narratives that are already being spread and being by one small group?
I didn't bring false negatives. A lot of it is directly from your things to ponder with Mrs. K. They're direct things that you said. And they're also emails that we've all received from parents in our community. So those aren't my words. I just presented them.
So I'm going to go back to that thought of that circulation.
A point of order, just real quick.
Thank you.
Mrs. Fisher, you asked if we were going on to board reports, and all I did was ask Ms. Simichek if she still need to cover 9B.
No, I didn't ask for going on to board reports.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
That was me.
mistaken. That was
No.
you? Okay. I apologize.
I asked if we
I
were
apologize.
done so that we could go on to her next
Sure, we
agenda
can be done
item.
for now.
We're done with 9.
Okay, let's go on to discussion item B.
No, we're good. I think my idea was that it all kind of was together.
Okay.
Similar topic or worked together
All
with
right,
each
let's
other.
go on to board reports.
Oh,
Ms. Ordway.
awesome. Let's see, we have that prom thing still going on throughout the district and throughout the valley. I think we're up to 60-something dresses gone soon. It will be the promotion, 8th grade promotion, 8th grade dance, and graduation dresses underneath the gowns. So the place is popping. I am so happy that I am able to do that because the look on those kids' faces. We also have, the Battle of the Books thing with that Marie Brennan. Marie, could you please stand up so we could all clap for you? Because we never do that during the right time. Stand up, Battle of the Books woman. She very much tirelessly works for our students and our teachers, and I think that we have the nomination for could you just give me the dates for that? Does it start when? So you can nominate your Teacher of the Year or your Rookie of the Year, and you need to get that in by April 26th. And the nomination form is it's on the district website and the school website. So, let's not complain that only certain teachers get it. Everybody has the opportunity to pick one from their school, or 2 or 3, I guess. I did enjoy the district visual art show, as usual. All the ones I wanted weren't for sale, which is good because I wouldn't be able to afford them. The venue was awesome. I think we just need to work a little bit on the lighting on ones. Corners was a little dark for the paintings, but wow, there's a lot of unique things there, and the talent it's just unbelievable. I think that we had a job fair that day. I saw a lot of people smiling, and they were principals. And it was Saturday, and they were smiling. Jenna Moffett, is that true? Did we get good people? All right, so apparently we're doing something right. And again, I will reiterate the fact that because you have a good and positive relationship and words about this district does not in any way, shape, or form mean that we are perfect. That is why we are a continuing improvement district, why we work hard on a strategic plan, why we work hard on implementing it. It is why we exist, to make sure we are as best as we can be for our students. So at some point in time, sit back and reflect on if you would want kindergarten students to join us during this part of the meeting, as opposed to just the part where I wish they would come and sing again, because we haven't had kindergartners sing, but I just threw that in there. So I am done. There are graduations, there are promotions, there are basketball games, there is sand volleyball, there's volleyball, there's band stuff, there's retirement. What else is there? I mean, oh my goodness, there's something for every day of the week if you choose to split yourself in half. So, and thank you guys for staying.
Ms. Simachek.
Good evening again. I hope everyone enjoyed the nice holiday weekend. Once again, I want to thank our community for advocating for our students and our staff and our administrators in DVUSD. I was a little bit nervous about tonight's discussion, but I think we started out well. I think we're on the right path. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had members of our wonderful community work together to provide for others. Our community, this is to me what community is about. It's why I'm part of this board, to bring our community together. Last week, Paul and I distributed over 200 pairs of shoes to our Title I schools. And I finished 2 deliveries yesterday to Greenbrier Elementary and Arrowhead Elementary. Both schools were very happy to receive the donations, and all of the schools wanted me to, and Paul, to tell you all thank you for the support, because they really appreciate it. 2 weeks ago, thanks to our Deer Valley High School National Honor Society President, Selena Rodosta, I hope I said your name right, Selena, we were able to provide over 20 families with laundry detergent for their homes, which might seem small, but it's not. Yes. Last Thursday, our Union Park second graders got to step outside of the classroom to learn more about westward expansion by visiting the Pioneer Living Museum. That's just north of us. Many of our DVUSD students have been able to go up to that place. It's a great time. I had a great time volunteering and just seeing the kids learn through hands-on experiences. And they read it and they watched some information about it, and then they got to go out and see it and they were really excited to do that. In the upcoming months, our schools will be presenting many fine art performances, including band and choir and dance. I'm looking forward to attending some of those, and I hope that you will as well. This week and in the upcoming weeks, our high school students will be inducted into the National Honor Societies at their high schools. So I would like to extend congratulations to those students, as well as our middle school students that will be inducted into National Junior Honor Society and JHS. And then the last item, actually I have one more item before I want to talk about that. 2 weeks ago, we lost a beautiful human in our community. She was a mother, a wife. Her daughter's a sophomore at Barry Goldwater, and it was very sudden and unexpected. So I just wanted to say that during this moment of silence that we had earlier on this evening, she was in my thoughts. Her family is in my thoughts, and it's been a hard thing to process, but again, I think this is where community comes in and kind of helps and rebuilds this family. The last topic I would like to discuss is my request to look into additional programs that could help our schools with obtaining additional support for our safe schools. I look forward to providing that information in the near future. Thank you.
I just want to start off by saying, just a note on the previous agenda item. I think a lot of what's going on and a lot of the angst is just because there are people in the community and some folks on the board they've been hurt, and we can't get some reconciliation out of that. And so I just want everybody to try to think about that as we try to find a way to move forward and try to find a way to be better, and try to love each other a little bit better. So been working with Mayor Beck out of the city of Peoria. The city of Peoria wants to give us 2 SROs for the 2 schools that we have that are in Peoria. Working with Dr. Z and that to make sure that we can get that taken care of. And on April 4th, I made a visit to the State Land Office with Mr. Miglorino and Dr. Finch to get us back on the radar, discussing what it looks like for land acquisition for new school developments because of TSMC. We've identified a need, and we're trying to reignite that fire in conversation with them so that we can be in front of the planners and not behind the planners, so that we don't end up with schools on mountainsides and we have usable land. So it was a really productive meeting, and we've managed to schedule reoccurring meetings on a regular basis now that Mr. Miglorino and Dr. Finch will take care of. On April 5th, met with Representative Gress down at the State House to talk about his HB 2800, which is the teacher raise that he's trying to get across the table. I wanted to understand sourcing, funding, how he plans on taking care of that in perpetuity so that we don't get ourselves out there in a position where we can no longer afford that raise after a certain period of time. He had a lot of good answers, and we had a really good discussion about different things that we can look at to try to get more money in our teachers' pockets and everybody across the board, not just teachers, because we need to value our bus drivers, we need to value our cafeteria workers and our administration. So we need to find a way to get that done, and we have people at the legislature that are willing to help us navigate that. So we need to build those relationships. Again, the shoe drive that Stephanie mentioned, 10 boxes with over 25 pairs of shoes in them each to the 10 Title I schools that we had, K through 6. And just so everybody knows, the Arizona Rattlers, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's our arena football team here in the state of Arizona. They have picked up that shoe drive for the Deer Valley School District and are going to maintain it starting at the beginning of their season, culminating with their season finale game August 8th. They're going to be collecting shoes at every home game and every away game when they host the games live at certain restaurants throughout the valley. So they'll be actively collecting gently used and new shoes for us, and they're trying to plan a really big finale for that season finale game. So let's show them some love and support like they're showing us. Let's see. Just to follow up, because I know a lot of community members have reached out to me with a couple of lockdowns that we've had recently. A request has been made of the administration to provide a written policy that we can provide for the public so that everybody understands what you should be able to expect from us when something happens at the school, what timelines look like, what communications might look like. It's really hard to keep in front of the 2,000 students that all have modern technology in their hand when the lockdown, and it gets a lot of bad information out there quickly and causes a lot of stress for the parents. So we'll do the best that we can as a school district to make sure that we can try to alleviate some of those concerns for you, to assure you that we've got it under control and what we need from you to try to get the situation handled. So when they get that to us, we'll make sure that the public's aware and has that information. And I think that's about all I've got.
I hope everybody had a lovely Easter, for those of you who celebrate Easter, best day of the year. I did ask about the text messaging, somewhat off of what Mr. Carver has said as well, and I do appreciate your response, Dr. Zarbach, in the Friday update. However, it didn't really answer the question. So the question is when did we stop text messaging? Because when my kids were in school and something like that would occur, I received a text message. And I understand that we direct them to the website, but there's still somebody on the website that's putting all that information there. A group text to those parents in that campus. If you've never been in a situation where you don't know the status of your child, and your child's texting information to you, we had some serious panicked parents. And I've been in that situation, but I was fortunate that I did get a text message that said, we are in this situation. The kids are safe. We'll let you know updates. Simple. It doesn't have to be long. But I would like to know when we stop doing the text messaging versus just directing people to look at the website. I think the biggest concern has been that parents at surrounding schools know before the parents who are getting all the text messages from their kiddos. And so that they're panicked because they're worried about their kids and their kids are panicked. The ones that write, they get a response, but there's a lot of kids that maybe, or parents that didn't write in. And I think they also would like to know what's happening. I would like to address parents out there. If you have concerns, the Friday update, I don't email because I just don't really want to hear the response that will be negative and inappropriate. But it comes in the Friday update anyways. So for you parents who want to bring forward concerns, ask your students to video whatever it is that's happening and ask them to email it directly, or you email it directly to all board members. And so that it can't be this is a lie or it's being made up. I don't know why anybody would have time to lie or make something up, especially when they work, 15 hours a day. But I don't want your requests for support to be to fall on deaf ears. So I'm asking that you parents or community members that have those concerns, like I said, have your kids videotape it, have them send it in so that it can be validated. We also have had an individual 2 years in a row has asked about awards for performing arts. I know we have our art show, but we do have our sports. The sports kids, they get a lot of honors, and that's great because they work really hard. But our performing arts students do as well. And I do think that it would be great if we did have an awards ceremony for them. I believe that takes us having a performing arts teacher maybe step up like a coach, like the coaches do, to encourage that to come forward, assist in putting it together. But I do think that we should consider it because it's not, they work really hard. One of my son's favorite times in the district were the plays and whatnot, and then the special needs prom. The ones that he got to go to, he really loved, and he really enjoyed. So I do think it would be great if we could honor those performing arts students, because it not only honors them, but the kids that really enjoy what they do. And then the last thing is, I am concerned with student safety, that we have had multiple, like I said, employees that have been allowed to resign in lieu of termination, and for actual crimes. So I think we do need to address that. Mr. Finch.
No comment. I'll move on to things that are happening in the district. In fact, I was going to put in the Friday update, this coming Friday update, because I asked our district performing arts person, fine arts person, do we have a ceremony? And I will include that in the Friday update coming up. But we already do bus all of the kids, middle school, junior high, high school, to each to a location where they are adjudicated and given district awards based on their performance. And it's a different approach than what you would call like the sports banquet thing. So I'll give you more details about that ceremony that we already do. It's actually quite impressive. They perform in front of students and in front of district judges and are given district awards currently. So we already do something like that. But I'll give you more details on that when I learn a little bit more about it. Just from a global perspective, legislation right now is wandering through the machine, and obviously with split government, what's going to happen and what I predicted would happen is happening. I'm going to sit on ASA with the superintendent's executive legislative group and with EFRG as well. That's another group that works with legislators and the governor's office. The short version is that the budget will be late. And so as board members and in my role as superintendent, we will be making guesses, educated guesses on where we're heading financially from the state. I just learned today that Arizona has now moved to 51st in the nation for per pupil spending. I thought we moved up to 48th, but we're now 51st. If there was a 52nd, Arizona would have it. So we need obviously support from the legislature. You can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. And the good news is Deer Valley continues to perform on the dollars that we get and we are less than our peers, as Mr. Marino continues to remind us, and still outperform our peers. So that means good people, good teamwork, good plans, and sticking to the plan. So obviously, thanks to the team to continue to perform well and continue to be here for the right reasons, and that's for kids. Just a reminder too, I think I mentioned it last time, GCU is working with us on City Serve. That's trying to develop clothing closets or supplies, I guess, for each of our schools. We'll start with one, try to open one for next year, and then develop a footprint, and maybe with the shoe project that you guys are working on will fit in there nicely. The District Art Show for elementary is this coming weekend. It'll be back in the Innovation Center. This will be the little people version. Friday from 3:30 to 6 p.m. and then Saturday from 10:30 to 7. Friday 3:30 to 6, Saturday 10:30 to 7. And you're welcome to come check out the elementary students' district art show. They do, obviously, there are feeder programs for our high schools. You saw the district ceremony or award show last weekend. It was really great. At the same time, the job fair was going on. So thanks to all the people that showed up for that. We did very well. Lots of interest from administrators to teachers to bus drivers. We got a little bit of everything. The word is spreading that Forbes has recognized us as a best mid-sized employer in the nation 2 years in a row. And so that is, we shared with the board during our executive session too, that we are getting principals that are now interested in coming from other districts. And you saw that tonight for our principal nomination. Last but not least, I did the 500th classroom visit this last week. I went over to Las Brisas for the preschool kids, handed out cookies, read Clifford, the Big Red Dog book, and had a fun time. So that's the latest. Thank you.
The future meetings, dates and events are posted. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:55.
All those in favor?